Jason took a crop loan in the spring of 2022. By October, he'd lost his farm. You know what's the scariest part? His harvest was fine. Not excellent, but not a disaster either. 42 bushels of corn per acre on 500 acres. A perfectly workable result. But one mistake in his calculations that he made back in spring triggered a chain of events that couldn't be stopped. 3 years ago, I almost followed his path. I stood at the edge of the same decision, same numbers in my head, same logic. What saved me? A random conversation with an old farmer who opened my eyes to what I wasn't accounting for. Today I'm going to tell you about 5 common mistakes farmers make when taking crop loans. And the last one, the 5th mistake, is the most insidious. It kills your business quietly, like carbon monoxide. 7 out of 10 farmers make it without even realizing. Stay until the end. There'll be a safe calculation checklist that could save your farm. Most of us operate on credit until harvest. That's normal. That's the reality of modern farming. In spring, you need money for seeds, fertilizer, fuel, equipment, wages. But the money only comes in fall after selling the harvest. A crop loan isn't evil. It's a financial tool. Like a chainsaw. Use it right, you build a house. Use it wrong, you cut off your leg. The difference between smart use of credit and financial suicide lies in the details. In those very nuances that bank loan officers gloss over, and farmers don't ask about because it seems like everything's clear. Today we'll break down 5 deadly mistakes. I'll show you real stories of real farmers. Show you the math that explains why people lose what they've built over decades. And most importantly, I'll show you the right strategy for using credit and sleeping soundly. Let's go. Mistake number 1. Borrowing for 100% of operating expenses. Meet Robert. 500 acres of wheat, average farmer, 20 years of experience. In spring of 2023, he sat down with a calculator and figured it out. Seeds $25,000. Fertilizer $40,000. Fuel $15,000. Herbicides, pesticides $12,000. Additional equipment rental $8,000. Seasonal workers $10,000. Insurance, miscellaneous $5,000. Total $115,000. Robert had $20,000 in his account. He went to the bank and took a loan for $95,000. Covered the entire difference. The whole season completely on borrowed money. Makes sense, right? He thought. In fall I'll sell the harvest, pay back the loan with interest, keep the profit. What went wrong? In July, drought hit. Not catastrophic, but significant. The harvest came in 20% below plan. Then in August, wheat prices dropped 15% due to a record harvest in Canada. Robert sold the harvest for $92,000. Paid back the loan with interest $102,000. Went negative by $10,000. Had to take out another short-term loan to cover the hole. Here's the mistake. When you borrow for all 100%, you have zero margin of safety. Any deviation from plan and you're in the red. Drought, hail, late frost, plant diseases, price drops, equipment breakdowns. Anything. And in farming, the probability that everything will go exactly according to plan is about the same as winning the lottery. Meaning almost zero. The right rule is called 70-30. Maximum 70% from borrowed funds, minimum 30% of your own. That gives you a buffer. Let's recalculate Robert's situation with the right approach. He needs $115,000. 30% of his own, that's $35,000. He had 20. So he was $15,000 short of his own money for a safe loan. The right decision. Postpone expansion, work on smaller acreage, or find a partner with capital. Don't take on a loan you can't afford. But that's only the first mistake. The next one is even more dangerous. Mistake number 2. Building optimistic harvest into your calculations. Marcus's story. 600 acres of corn. Marcus is a good farmer, knows his stuff. The last 3 years his average harvest was 58 bushels per acre. Excellent result. In spring, he's planning the season. Sitting with the bank's credit manager. The manager asks, "What harvest are you planning?" Marcus answers, "Well, the last few years it was 58, I think this year I'll get 60. Weather's looking good, got new seeds." The manager nods, writes in the documents. 60 bushels. Multiplies by 600 acres, multiplies by the current corn price of $4.50 per bushel. Gets $162,000 in gross income. Subtracts operating expenses of $100,000, loan interest $10,000. Leaves $52,000 net. Beautiful. Loan approved. What actually happened? The season turned out average. Not bad, not excellent, ordinary. Harvest. 45 bushels per acre. Plus prices by fall dropped to $3.80. Real income. 45 bushels times 600 acres times 380. Comes out to $102,500. Minus operating expenses of $100,000 leaves $2,500. But he needs to return $110,000 in loan with interest. Catastrophe. Here's how psychology kills farmers. We're optimists by nature. We believe in a good year, good weather, high prices. Otherwise, it's impossible to do this work at all. But when it comes to loans, optimism is deadly. The right approach looks like this. Take the average harvest for the last 5 years. Not the 3 best years, 5, including the bad ones. Let's say for Marcus it was 52 bushels. Now subtract 15% buffer for the unexpected. You get 44 bushels. Prices? Take not the current high ones, but the minimum over the last 3 years. If the current price is for 50, but the minimum was $3, budget $3. Conservative forecast. 44 bushels at $3 equals $132 per bushel. For 600 acres that's $79,200 in gross income. Minus $100,000 in expenses, loss of $21,000. Stop. This means with a conservative calculation, the loan doesn't make sense at all. And that's the right conclusion. Better to learn this in spring at a table with a calculator than in fall when you have nothing to pay with. Break-even point is sacred. Calculate the minimum harvest at minimum price where you come out at zero. If that minimum looks unrealistically good, don't take the loan. But there's an even worse mistake. And it concerns timing. Mistake number 3. Ignoring loan payment deadlines. Meet Tom. Tom has 800 acres of soybeans. Good farmer, experienced, calculated everything correctly. Both harvest and prices, budgeted a buffer. Took a loan in March on reasonable terms. One detail. The loan needs to be paid back on September 1st. In full. Late penalty. 3% per month. Tom wasn't worried. Harvest is at the end of August. I'll sell the harvest, pay back the loan. All clear. What went wrong? At the end of August, rain started. A week of rain. Then another week. Can't harvest, beans are wet, equipment's getting stuck. Tom starts getting nervous. September 1st. Loan not returned. Penalty starts accruing. September 20th, finally managed to harvest. But now it needs drying, additional expenses. Then loading, taking to the elevator. The elevator is overflowing, everyone was harvesting at once after the rains. We can only take it in 2 weeks, or take it slightly below market price for urgency. Tom takes below price. He needs money now, loan penalties are growing every day. He loses another 12 cents per bushel due to the rush. In the end, paid back the loan at the end of September. Paid a month's penalty. Sold the harvest cheaper. Instead of planned profit of $35,000, got $12,000. Here's what's critical to understand. The loan repayment deadline must coincide with realistic harvest sale timing. And by realistic I mean not if everything goes perfectly, but accounting for possible delays. Harvest can drag on. Elevators can be full. Prices can be unfavorable right at harvest time. You need a buffer of at least a month, better 2. If the bank offers a loan with repayment in September, and your harvest is at the end of August, that's dangerous. Ask for a deadline at the end of October minimum. Yes, interest is slightly higher. That's the price of peace of mind and flexibility. And never sign forward contracts with hard delivery deadlines if you have a loan with hard repayment deadlines. It's a double trap. Didn't deliver harvest on time, penalty. Didn't return loan, penalty. Squeezed from both sides. What to do if you realize you won't make the loan deadline? Call the bank in advance. 2 weeks before the deadline, not on the last day. Ask for restructuring. Banks usually accommodate if they see you're honest and didn't wait until the last minute. A small fee for extension is better than harsh penalties. But the next mistake is the most insidious. Almost no one talks about it, but it kills business slowly and invisibly. Mistake number 4. Not accounting for the cumulative effect of multi-year loans. This is David's story. And it's the scariest story, because David did everything right. At least, that's how it seemed. First year. David takes a seasonal loan of $80,000 at 10%. Harvest is normal, sells for $105,000. Returns loan with interest $88,000, leaves $17,000 net. Great. Second year. Again needs money for the season. Takes $80,000 at 10%. Harvest is slightly worse, sells for $98,000. Returns $88,000, leaves $10,000. Well, okay, not great, but came out positive. Third year. Again loan of $80,000. Harvest is average, but prices dropped. Sells for $93,000. Returns $88,000, leaves $5,000. Not much, but technically in the black. Fourth year. Loan of $80,000. Drought, bad harvest. Sells for $82,000. $6,000 short to fully return the loan. Takes an additional short-term loan for $6,000 at 15% to close the main one. Fifth year. Needs $80,000 for the season plus needs to close that short-term loan of $6,000, which has grown to $7,000 with interest. Takes $87,000. Harvest is normal, sells for $100,000. Returns $96,000, $87,000 main plus interest plus that old debt. Leaves $4,000. Sixth year. David sits down to count. And then it hits him. Over 5 years he earned net 17 plus 10 plus 5 plus 0 plus for $36,000. Over 5 years of work. That's $7,200 a year. Less than a hired worker's salary. But that's not all. He looks deeper. Accumulated interest over 5 years on all loans $44,000. He gave the bank $44,000. But earned $36,000. And the scariest part, he now owes the next loan of $80,000, due in September, and he has $3,000 in his account. He's trapped. To get out, he needs a perfect harvest at high prices. Probability? Minuscule. Here's the insidious part. Each year separately looks almost normal. But the cumulative effect kills. You're working more and more for the bank, not for yourself. Interest eats up profit. And each year it gets harder to escape. This is called a debt spiral. And it sucks you in imperceptibly. Like quicksand, first ankle deep, then knee deep, and suddenly you realize it's up to your neck. Red flags when you need to stop. If this is already the third year in a row you're taking a crop loan. If each year profit is less than the previous one. If you're starting to take additional loans to close old ones. These are signals the business model isn't working, you need to change approach. The right solution. Take a pause. Work a season on smaller acreage, but without credit. Or find alternative income sources. Or a partner with capital. But don't continue the spiral. Because it ends only one way: bankruptcy. And the last mistake concerns who you borrow from. Mistake number 5. Borrowing from the wrong lender. At first glance it seems, what's the difference? Money is money, the main thing is the terms. But that's an illusion. Carl's story. Carl urgently needs $35,000 for seeds and fertilizer in spring. He goes to the bank. The bank says, "We need 2 weeks for approval, collateral, tons of paperwork." Carl doesn't have 2 weeks. Planting deadlines are burning. He goes to the seed supplier. The supplier smiles. "Carl, buddy, we've been working together for ages. Take seeds and fertilizer on credit. You'll settle up after harvest. No paperwork, no collateral." Carl agrees. Sounds great, right? Takes $35,000 in goods. Signs a simple contract, doesn't even really read it. Fall. Harvest is collected, Carl is ready to settle up. Calls the supplier. He says, "Amount due is $43,500. "What 43? We agreed on 35. "Carl, read the contract. It says, commodity credit at 24% annual. You used it 7 months. Plus processing fee of $2,000. Carl rereads the contract. Exactly. Fine print on the second page. 24%. That's almost twice the bank loan rate. But that's not all. In the contract there's a clause. In case of incomplete repayment on time, the supplier has the right to demand payment in harvest at market price minus 20%. Minus 20%. Here's the trap with commodity credit. It seems convenient, quick, no paperwork, no collateral. But the interest rate is predatory. And the most dangerous part, if you can't return it in cash, they'll force you to give harvest at a discounted price. And you can't do anything about it, you signed the contract. Private lenders are even worse. Interest can reach 30 to 40%. Plus personal guarantee requirements collateralizing your house, land, equipment. And if something goes wrong, they won't be as ceremonious as a bank. They'll come and take their collateral. The right hierarchy of lenders looks like this. First choice bank or agricultural cooperative. Yes, more paperwork, longer approval, but reasonable interest and transparent terms. Second choice government farmer support programs, if you qualify. Interest is often below market. Third choice credit line at a bank that's already pre-approved. You need to arrange it in advance, but then you can get money quickly. Suppliers, private lenders, that's last resort. When all other doors are closed. And even then you need to check the contract 10 times with a lawyer. Collateral. Never collateralize your house or land for a short-term seasonal loan. These are disproportionate things. Loan for 100,000, house is worth 300,000. The risk isn't justified. Equipment possible, if it's reasonable interest. Future harvest possible. But house and land, that's the red line. And read the contract. All of it. Especially fine print. If you don't understand some clause, ask. If the lender is rushing you to sign and won't give you time to read, that's a huge red flag. Turn around and leave. Okay, I've scared you. Now let's honestly talk. There are situations when a crop loan is the right decision. Even a smart decision. First, you have a good harvest history. Last 5 years stable, no failures. You know your land, know your capabilities. Conservative forecast shows confident profit even accounting for interest. Second, you have a short-term liquidity gap. Money exists, but it'll come later. For example, sold the harvest, but the buyer will pay in a month, and you need to buy seeds now. A bridge loan for a month or two, reasonable decision. Third, expansion with clear return on investment. You can rent an additional 100 acres of excellent land. Need money for cultivation. Calculations show that even with interest, this will bring an additional 20,000 in net profit. That works. Fourth, force majeure. Tractor broke down right during season, need urgent repair for 12,000. Without the tractor you can't harvest, you'll lose 100,000. Loan for repair, obvious decision. Key condition for all these situations. You must be able to pay off the loan from alternative sources if the harvest fails. Reserves, other assets, other income. The loan shouldn't be a life or death matter. If you're putting your last on the line, if after loan repayment you won't have a safety cushion left, that's not a loan, that's a casino. Let's now step by step break down how to correctly calculate a safe loan. Step 1. Calculate minimum harvest. Take average harvest for the last 5 years, including bad years. Subtract 15%. That's your conservative forecast. Example. Average corn harvest over 5 years is 50 bushels per acre. Minus 15% equals 42.5 bushels. Round to 42. Step 2. Calculate minimum sale price. Look at minimum prices over the last 3 years. Not current high ones, but minimum. Add 5 to 10% inflation if you want, but no more. Example. Minimum corn price over 3 years was $3.20. Calculate at $3.20. Step 3. Determine real need for borrowed funds. Not desire, but need. What's absolutely necessary to buy to grow and harvest? No frills. Example. Seeds 20,000, fertilizer 35,000, fuel 12,000, herbicides 8,000. Total 75,000. Step 4. Add 20% buffer for unexpected. Something always goes off plan. Additional treatment, unplanned repair, anything. Example. 75,000 plus 20% equals 90,000. Step 5. Compare loan repayment deadline with realistic harvest sale timing. If harvest is end of August, then repayment should be no earlier than end of October. 2 months buffer. Step 6. Calculate break-even point. Gross income minus all expenses minus loan repayment with interest must be no less than 0. Better yet, no less than 10,000 positive. Example. Your 600 acres, conservative harvest 42 bushels, price 320. Gross income. 42 times 600 times 320 equals $80,640. Operating expenses $90,000. Loan repayment with 10%. 90 times 1.1 equals $99,000. Total expenses. $189,000. Income $80,640. Loss of over $100,000. Stop. This means with a conservative forecast you're in huge negative. Can't take the loan. Either reduce acreage, or look for other financing sources, or skip the season altogether. Step 7. Plan B. What will you do if harvest is below forecast or prices drop even more? Where will you get money to return the loan? Will you sell equipment? Take another loan? Do you have reserves? If there's no plan B, that's automatic no to the loan. Are there alternatives to loans? Yes, several. Forward contracts. You sell harvest in advance at fixed price, get advance payment. Pros: money now, price locked, don't need to pay interest. Cons: if harvest is bad and you can't deliver promised quantity, penalties are huge. Or if prices skyrocket by fall, you're already bound by contract at low price. Partnership or equity participation. Find a partner with capital, he invests money, you invest work and land, share profits. Pros: no debt, risks are shared. Cons: need to share profits, need to trust partner. Equipment leasing instead of credit purchase. Frees up capital. Monthly payments lower than credit payments. Pros: flexibility. Cons: more expensive long term. Reducing operating expenses. Review all line items. Maybe you can use less fertilizer with minimal yield loss. Or skip new seeds, take proven cheap ones. Every 1,000 saved is 1,000 you don't need to borrow. Crop insurance. Not an alternative to credit, but important part of strategy. Insurance costs money, but it protects from catastrophic losses. If you take a loan, insurance is mandatory. It's not an expense, it's an investment in peace of mind. Let's clearly identify situations when you absolutely cannot take a crop loan under any conditions. If this is already the third year in a row you're taking a loan and each year barely break even, this isn't business, it's slow dying. Stop. If the bank requires collateralizing house or land for short-term loan, disproportionate risk. Refuse. If interest is above 12 to 15% annually, that's usury. At such rates, earning is unrealistic. If you don't understand all contract terms, if there's a bunch of incomprehensible clauses in fine print, don't sign until you figure everything out. If you don't have plan B, if the only way to return the loan is perfect harvest at high price, that's not a plan, that's hope. And hope isn't a strategy. If the bank requires too much collateral relative to loan amount, they see you as high risk. Listen to their assessment. Maybe they're right. Let's return to the beginning. To Jason, who lost his farm. What mistake did he make? All 5 at once. He borrowed for 100%. He built in an optimistic forecast. He didn't account for timing. The loan had to be returned before he could sell harvest. This was already his 4th year in debt in a row. Cumulative effect strangled him. And he took from a private lender at predatory interest with house as collateral. When the harvest came in 20% below plan, when prices fell, when elevators were overflowing and he had to wait, he had no options left. The lender took their house. Had to sell the farm to pay off debts. This could happen to anyone. To you. To me. The difference is whether you know these traps in advance. A crop loan is a powerful tool. It allows farmers to work, expand, develop. But it's a double-edged sword. Use it right, you'll build a successful business. Use it wrong, you'll lose everything. Main rule, remember it. Borrow only what you can guaranteed return, even if everything goes badly. If there's no such guarantee, don't borrow. Better to work a year on smaller acreage and stay afloat than borrow too much and drown. In the description below the video there's a checklist for calculating safe credit. Excel table where you can plug in your numbers and calculate. Download it, use it. It could save your business. If this video helped at least one of you avoid a mistake, I've accomplished my task. Hit like if the information was useful. Subscribe to the channel for more honest conversations about farm business. And write in comments, have you dealt with crop loans? What's your experience? Let's share stories and help each other. Farming isn't just about land and equipment. It's about knowing how to count money and make right decisions. Count carefully, friends. Good luck to you and good harvests.